Welcome to the University of Arkansas in the College of Engineering and the Department of Industrial Engineering. Today our presentation is for the United States Army Corps of Engineers for the Engineering Research and Development Center. The presentation will focus on the Master of Science in Operations Management and the Master of Science in Engineering Management. We hope you enjoy the presentation.
Master of Science in Operations Management, which you'll probably hear me say MSOM quite a bit. What is operations management? Operations management professionals plan, lead, manage business operations. They use industrial engineering techniques to enable individuals and organizations to maximize effectiveness and make superior decisions. And as you can see from our little operations management swiggle design, you've got a lot of jobs as an operations manager. So Carol has nicely linked a Wall Street Journal article, which you may want to go ahead and look at. But what can I do with an operations management degree? Obviously, operations manager, human resource manager, construction manager, finance, banking, investments, all sorts of different things. Operations managers have different titles. They do different things, but our MSOM degree will get you there. It'll certainly help you. Next. Okay, so for our program, let's just briefly go over that. For our program, there are 4 undergraduate prereq courses. If you have met those in an undergrad, I think there's another slide we'll talk about the prereqs, so we'll talk about that. There's 10 graduate courses, which is 30 credit hours. There's 4 required courses and 6 electives. And you see, there's 27 to choose from. You only need 6, so you've got a lot of choices. So if you're looking for something, let's say in the HR, we've got HR classes. If you're looking for something in risk, we've got that. Organizing, supply chain, decision models. There are tons of things. Obviously, project management, which is a big part of operations management, and cost estimations. I'm 27, I'm not going to go through them all, but there are a lot of classes to choose from, and you just get to pick 6. So I do have students that are, I want to take this one and this one, but it's your last class. Do you really want to extend this? It's only 10 classes, but you can make this happen for you and focus on your area that you are most interested in. So you and your buddy could go in together and be doing entirely different tracks. Admissions requirements, you need a GPA of at least a 3.0 to graduate. There's a comprehensive exam instead of a thesis, so I got a lot of people that get kind of freaked out about that, but don't. We're not here to fail you, and I have not had a failure in 8 years. So we're good. And then, of course, you have to apply for graduation, because if you don't do that, you don't get your diploma. We hold it hostage. Next. Okay, here's that prereq. The undergrad prereqs, there are 4 of them. So if you've had a business law class in your undergrad and got a C or better, you won't need that. If you had an accounting class in your undergrad and you got a C or better, won't need that. Statistics, most of you have had it. If you had a C or better, you won't need that. And then the 4th one is our Introduction to Decision Support Tools and Operations Management, which I like to call our Excel on steroids class. And you have 2 options. You either take our class, and you would want to do that in the first 8 weeks with us, or you can test out. You can take the proficiency exam. It is free, and my motto is, if it's free, it's for me. So you'd want to try the test out first. If you get a 70% or better, you won't have to take the class. Now, I will let you know that I've had students that have tested out and still taken the class and said it was one of their best classes. I've had other students that finished the program. I actually had one captain that finished the program, graduated, but he had tested out and he was working with people that took the class and he didn't know what they were doing. So he came back and took the class from us. And again, at the very bottom, it does say that you must receive a C or better for the prereq to count. Next. There's our 4 required courses: Introduction to Operations Management, Project Management, Strategic Management, and then you have an option of taking Finance for Operations Managers or Economic Decision Making, or both, because you could use one of them as your elective if you so desire. You also need to get a B or better, and if you do not get that B, you can take the class again. And the nice thing about the finance is you can take the economic decision making instead of finance and use one as the elective and the other as your required course. But those 4 required courses you want to finish in their first 6 classes. And luckily for you, your advisor is very good at keeping track of this. Oh, by the way, that would be me. Just a little joke. Okay, next. Okay, so our tuition and fees for our program, and all classes are 3 credits. So again, it's a 30 credit hour, not counting the prereqs. The prereqs are undergrad classes. They are also 3 credit hours, but they're not part of the 10. Your tuition is $303.88 per credit hour. Fees are $50 per credit hour. So a total for the 3-hour class is $1,061.64. That includes your tuition and fees. And a lot of the times, many of our classes use a first day material, which is available on the, wait for it, first day. Okay, and that's an ebook. And that comes in anywhere from about $50 to $100 versus a hardcover book, which runs anywhere from 150 to 3, maybe even a little bit more than that. Nice thing about an ebook is you get to keep it, put it on a couple of devices and keep it forever. Nice little line at the bottom, no out-of-state tuition fees. Everybody pays the exact same. Even for our prereq classes, they are $1,061.64. So if you're looking at 10 courses, counting your books, you're looking at about a $12,000 degree from the University of Arkansas in operations management. Pretty good deal there. Next. And here's the application instructions for our program. Nice thing about this is that you will get a copy of this presentation, so you don't have to write it all down. You don't have to worry about it. And there, for the MSOM program only, there is no application fee. Okay. So once again, my motto is if it's free, it's for me. So if you're interested in the operations management program, here are the instructions on how to apply. And again, there's no application fee, and we do not need letters of reference. And we do not need that GRE score if you have at least a 3.0. And at the present time, because of COVID, if you fall below, if you are at the 2.5 to 2.99, we will waive that during the COVID season. So I think that goes through fall. So currently we are accepting applications for our March 8th start, which we call Spring 8-Week 2. Next. There's our calendar schedule, and you see there's the Spring 8-Week 2, which starts on March 8th to April 29th. So these are 8-week sessions. They go by fast, unless you're in a really challenging class, and then it may not go by as fast as you want it to. But for the most part, these go by fast, which is really, really good, because then, in 2 years, if you only took one class at a time, you're a graduate. And that is sweet. Very sweet. Next. Okay. Along or separate to our MSOM, we have 2 graduate certificate options that you may be interested in: project management and Homeland Security. This you can do with the MSOM or completely separate. Next. So here's the information about the graduate certificates. And as you probably can tell, I'm a little excited about them because I think they're a great deal to do with or separate. Anyway, there's only 4 classes. 4 classes. That's it. You can actually do it in as little as 2 terms if you took 2 classes at a time, or in 4 sessions if you took them separately. You need a 2.5 undergraduate GPA, no GMAT or GRE. You can do it with your MSOM program without taking extra classes. So that's really cool. So like our project management, as you saw, is a required course for the MSOM program. Well, for our project management graduate certificate, ding ding, required course. So you're not taking it twice, you're taking it once, but you're getting basically 2 check marks. You can do it with or a standalone program. And I believe, yes, so now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rich Ham, who's going to talk about the project management and the Homeland Security graduate certificates because he's the one that designed them. Rich?
All right. Well, thanks, Marge. A couple of things I'll say about, and when Carol said she was going to send you that Wall Street Journal article, it really looks like they, wrote it from the strategy we took from benchmarking both what we had both students and employers talk about the kind of skill sets that they need. So there's a couple of things I'll point out about our certificates. One is they will follow an industry standard body of knowledge and those concepts. So we follow the body of knowledge from PMI for the PMP for the courses as designed. It's not something that is like a boot camp, but we do have several to prepare for the certification exam. But we do have several of our students in project that do a little bit of extra study and go on and take the PMP and are successful passing. If you look here specifically, I talk about kind of the different ways of people enter this. The first is, just like Marge said, we have several students that say, this is another, my employer or my job, or I'm looking to maybe change and get add some skills for a new job. This addition of this certificate and this emphasis about organizing my electives to do that makes perfect sense for me. It makes sense for my employer, and I can see where I would have utility. The other is we actually have some former students that graduated prior to the certificates, and they come back and take a couple of classes and are able to often get that certificate and add some skills that they need. Obviously, project management is used by operations managers, by engineers, by, in the IT field. We just had a company reach out to us interested in us helping them prepare their IT program managers to manage projects. So it's the utility for project management. It's been hugely successful certificate for us because the skills are just like we say, learn it today and apply it tomorrow. They're immediately learning those skills about how to track projects effectively, breaking down, into a work breakdown structure and packets and managing teams to do that, but then also identifying when a project is in trouble and how do you make key decisions about, is it an issue that I need to crash this by putting more resources in it? Do I change the scope? Is there something that I need to do? But to deal with clients in particular, when unforeseen things happen, anybody that's managed a large project knows if there's one thing that you can count on, there will be unforeseen things that occur. So managing projects, which one is the fastest growing skill sets that employers look for? Obviously, we have several students interested. And then we have some students, a growing number, that either they don't have a master's degree yet, or they have a master's degree of some other, but they need these skill sets that have been identified as a project managers. And so they will just enter the certificate program. They'll complete that, and we find that a very high percentage finish those 4 courses, get their certificate, and then decide to go on and complete MSOM. Or in some cases, we've had for the first time some one that completed the engineering management, the Master of Science in Engineering Management, and then went on. So it's in high demand, and we're nothing that we've seen would make us think that we've done anything except met the needs of our students the best we can. We do improve it all the time. We change when the body of knowledge changes and updates in all our certificates. So about 3 ways to enter, but people come in from all different, both either their employer or an individual goal for different reasons. All of them end up at the same place. Next slide, please. The Homeland Security Certificate came from looking at skill sets. Some of it, applies specifically to my background, but the complexities of integrating Homeland Security, one of the things that most people don't understand is that of the critical infrastructure that has an application, a requirement to be protected by new regulations or laws in the United States, 85% of that critical infrastructure is not owned by the federal government. It's either state, local, and a large amount of it owned by private industry. So this led to almost a subspecialization, but certainly something that a lot of operations managers would deal with. Virtually any operations manager that is in any industry, especially if it's supply chain, heavy requirements in supply chain for Homeland Security requirements, especially for hazmat and that's trucking, that's trains, rail, heavy rail, light rail, and also on the heavy and aviation, of course, for instance, cargo getting on that are going to get onto an aircraft. So this was designed with several different things. The body of knowledge about the principles comes from the American Society of Industrial Security, which is kind of the banner association for security, but it teaches our students to take those principles that they learned at operations as operations managers to directly apply it in their work, whether they're government officials in the military. We have several, many that are, or if they're in civilian industry or in industry at whole, they take these and apply them to what they need. We do have another course that was added this year specifically in crisis management and resilient design. That course can also be applied as we're going through the issue to have it added officially, but we're allowing students to use that as an elective. That grew long before COVID started, but this need and desire to build resilience, and it introduces some of the risk management processes that you would use to add resilience and security layering, and some of the very specific things that you would need to do in order to prepare. Those companies and those government organizations that had thoughtfully worked through that, along with all of these Homeland Security principles and requirements, they were pretty successful coming through COVID. They understood it wasn't the first time they thought about something like that. You never predict anything, but you can predict that you need a process. And so learning processes, learning how to exercise and test yourself, and then to always do constant improvement is what's taught with this one. Been successful. It's growing quite a bit this year in particular. I don't know the exact numbers we have. Carol probably has a better idea, but we have more and more students that are taking this certificate, some that are coming back for this certificate because they need it in their job. A lot in supply chain specifically, but from all fields that are coming in so they can learn what can they do to improve their way to not just comply, but improve the security stance, and then also be able to respond appropriately when the unexpected occurs. Next slide. I'll let you talk to this, Marge, the same kind of application process, but if anybody had any questions, I certainly would be happy to answer them at the end.
And of course, this is how to apply is very similar to what we did for the MSON, only there is a $60 application fee for each of the graduate certificates. And if you wanted to do both of those certificates, you would need to apply separately. But certainly you would do the application and reach out to me if you have questions on that. And for the next slide, I believe we have Carol. Yep, Carol Altum is our Assistant Director for the Operations Management Program, and she's going to talk about that. Jane, are you on? Okay, so Carol's going to talk about the Master of Science in Engineering Management.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Can everyone hear me? I think everyone can. Okay, yep. My name is Carol Altum. I'm going to talk to you about the Master of Science in Engineering Management program. Jane Crumout, who is the Associate Director of the program, is unable to join us today, so I'm stepping in for her. But at the end of the presentation, her contact information will be posted on the slide. So as you can see on the slide, we're proud of the fact that the MS in Engineering Management program is listed as one of the U.S. News and World Report's best online graduate engineering programs and veterans graduate engineering programs for the year 2019. If you're wondering what is engineering management and who does our MS in Engineering Management degree program target, it targets engineers who want to lead and manage a technical workforce and projects. And it's for those engineers who want to develop and deliver new products and services, creating value for the organization and customers. The MSEM admissions requirements are a little bit similar to the MSOM program. The difference is that this degree program requires a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from a program accredited by the Engineering Commission of ABET accreditation. So you do need an engineering degree. From what I've seen, like engineering technology degrees are not ABET accredited, so it really does need to be an engineering degree, Bachelor of Science in Engineering degree. You will need a 3.0 or higher on all your cumulative coursework in your engineering degree, or a 3.0 or higher on the last 60 hours of coursework. We do conditional admission for a GPA of 2.9, 2.5 to 2.9 on a case-by-case basis. And we would look at your transcripts, the institution where you got your bachelor's degree, and the engineering, the actual engineering major. As you can see, we fall under the same calendar schedule as the MSOM program. We have 8-week sessions, and like Marge said, they go by very quickly. We have 2 sessions in the fall, 2 sessions in the spring, and 1 session in the summer. And you can join our program in any of the 8-week sessions. So you could start fall 8-week 1, or you can decide, okay, I want to join spring 8-week 2, which is coming up in March. Here are our tuition and fees. Again, it's very similar to the operations management program, except for the fact that we do have an administrative fee of $30 per credit hour for engineering classes. So your total for a 3-hour class, and again, this is graduate level class, is approximately $1,100, depending on it if it's an engineering class or, let's say, an operations management class. Here is our list of degree requirements. We have a required number of classes. It's 10 graduate courses. We don't have any prereqs. Our prereq is basically an engineering degree, a bachelor's in engineering degree. We have 4 core required classes that everyone must take, and those are listed right there. Introduction to Engineering Management. We have decision models, engineering decision making, economic decision making, and project management. We also require 9 hours or 3 courses from available online engineering courses. So there are a long list of different online engineering courses that you can choose from. And then also we have a requirement of 3 elective classes, and you can take those from engineering management program, operations management program, you can take engineering courses. And so that differentiates your program to, say, your with your friend who's also doing the MSEM program. Also, you can differentiate your program with the engineering sequence classes that you take. So you can both be in the same MSEM program, but you take the 4 core requirements, but then your other 6 classes can be very different from one another. We also require a comprehensive oral exam that is completed at the very end of your program, and that's in lieu of a thesis. And then we also require a GPA of 3.0 or higher for graduation. And very similar to the MSOM program, you can combine the graduate certificates with this degree program and essentially earn 2 credentials at the same time without taking extra classes. So you can do the 10 MSEM courses and include the graduate certificate courses as your elective classes. And the current certificate offerings include, just as the MSOM program, the project management and the Homeland Security certificates. And this kind of just breaks down the details of how you want to structure your degree plan in the MSEM program if you want to take the PM certificate. And again, this video is recorded, so you don't have to write this down. We will send you the link to the recording. And then this slide tells you how to combine the MSEM program with the Homeland Security classes for the certificate. So that concludes our presentation. We are all available to answer your questions. If you would like to type in your questions, please do so in the chat box. And while you're thinking of your questions and typing it out, again, we are here. We're all available to answer your questions about the MSOM program, the MSEM program, the graduate certificate programs, and also Stanley Woodson is online to answer your questions about how to do this program, how to do these programs as an ERDC member. So please type in your questions in the chat feature. And while you're typing, I do want to tell everyone that we have a webinar coming up that we're hosting next Wednesday. Dr. Carrie Bean, who teaches for our programs, will present her work with Informs and the Franz Edelman Award for Achievement in Analytics, Operations Research, and Management Science. If you're wondering how companies and researchers are using the operations management and engineering management techniques, please join us. I promise you that it'll be very interesting. I got a preview of the presentation yesterday, and it is very interesting. Again, that is next Wednesday at noon Central Time. I will link in the post in just a minute a way for you to register for the webinar. If not, if I don't get to it, then it will be sent to you in an email. So do we have any questions?
There is one question, but before we go into that, I noticed that there were a lot of people on here that did not register prior, so I don't have your email. This is Marge, so I put the contact detail on there. If you would like this presentation or the invitation to next week's meeting with webinar with Dr. Carrie Beam, please email me at the ua-nsam@uark.edu, and I will make sure that you get that. And Carol, you want to go ahead and answer William's question?
I am sorry, I can't, I don't see it. I think my screen froze up.
Oh, okay.
I
So
can't.
the question is, are the classes pre-recorded or live? And how long do the class sessions last? Is there any kind of credit card fee for the class costs? So the classes, we have strictly online classes that you do in the 8 weeks. There's going to be, you do it through our Blackboard platform, and you would have discussions and excuse me, discussion boards and weekly assignments, midterm final, maybe some, there'll be a presentation that you'll have to do, something like that. As far as the class sessions, now that's a strictly online one. We also have synchronous hybrid classes that you would meet with the instructor, all the other students in the class, and I'm using the air quotes, because you would not be sitting in the classroom, you might be sitting at home. Those ones meet once a week for 3 hours with, again, you'll have the discussions, and so that'll basically be the lecture part that you would meet for the 3 hours once a week, the same time every week for that 8 weeks. And any kind of credit card fee for the class costs. I'm not exactly sure what that question is referring to. If you mean if you're going to pay your if you're going to pay your tuition online, Visa does charge a fee for that. But if you do an electronic check, there's no extra fee for that. So hopefully, William, that answered your question. Do we have any other questions? Or Carol, you have something?
Okay, I was muted. I just wanted to mention, William, you're probably asking if our online courses are asynchronous, where you don't have to, sit, whether you're at work or at home at 6 o'clock, on a Wednesday evening. Most of our online classes are that way, asynchronous, where you don't have to. And so they are mostly pre-recorded. We do have some options because a lot of students like the one-on-one, or they like the live chat feature of, seeing the instructor and talking to the instructor. Our instructors do have that, and a lot of them are available online for office hours. But as an online course, a strict online course, everything's pre-recorded, so you can get online at 8 in the morning, and your classmate can get online and do the same work at 10 o'clock at night. So, and if you're asking about credit card fee, on our side, we don't ever see a credit card fee attached to the students' charges. So I would say no, but I don't see what happens on the student side for that. But that is a good question. I don't think so. No one has ever, no student has ever said, "Oh, I was charged, 2% for you credit card to pay for my classes." I've never heard that.
We don't add them. We pay them. So the program, obviously Visa, so there's a surcharge like any vendor that they charge us. Never seen a student that was charged it separately. If they did, they were getting double charged because we're paying the fee.
Can I say something? I hope I know we have a lot of ERDC folks that have taken classes or training and gone through procedure. We may have some that are not. We get new employees a lot. But most of the time, if of our classes we do at the universities, this is considered training by your organization. If you have the buy-in of your supervisor and your organization, that's what you hope you have. Then you do a request for training, which is a standard form SF 182, request for training to your supervisor. So if your supervisor approves this as being applicable to your job, then generally they also means that they are support you financially through the training budget. So you need to get that training request form in ahead of time. You got to get all that approved before the classes begin, and you register for class. And if you do register for class, just remember you register for a class, and then you find out, oh, I'm not approved, so I'm not going to take the class. Be sure you get out of that class, because essentially the university will think you're still in there, and you'll be accumulating tuition costs that will probably come out of your own pocket. Just don't forget to do that. We've had people forget sometimes to get out of a class when they end up not getting the final approval. But you want your approval really before classes begin anyway. So generally, and I believe it's working the same way with Arkansas here, that there's a couple of ways that the ERDC finance people pay for these classes. One, either they do it through Milton, through the Defense Finance Office in Milton, Tennessee. Arkansas is a vendor, so it would go through that CFM system, or your organization may be paid with a government credit card. So anyway, if they got more questions on that, we can try to track that down.
Well, good. Thanks, William. I hope that we were able to answer your questions, because if they're using a credit card, I do have another student that uses a credit card, a business credit card, to have their classes paid for. So that's good to know. And I'm glad we were able to answer that. Chris, if you're still on, Chris Gerner, you said you had sent your email or your information along. I did not receive it yet, so I won't be able to send the presentation. If you don't send me your email, you will not be able to get the presentation. This goes to everybody. I know I have Williams because I have his from last time as well. But if anybody else wants to get this presentation or additional information, please contact us and we'll be happy to send it out. Any other questions for us?
And this is Stan again. If you need to, if you want to email me, and I'll get your contact over to Marge and Jane or Carol, that's fine too. But if you think you're having difficulty getting the email over, just send me an email, and I'll be sure and get that contact info to them.
In the MSOM, the MSEM, or one of the grad certificates. If you could just pop that in the chat, it'll show your name, and then if you just put MSOM, MSEM, or the project management, that would be great. Luke, I just got your information. Thank you. Before, I am the point of contact for the MSOM and the project management and the Homeland Security that are separate from the MSEM program. So I'll be able to help, well, and Chris as well, all three of you. Okay, well, it looks like we have no more questions. So again, the contact information is on there. If you didn't pre-register, Chris, I just got your information. Thank you. If you did not pre-register, then you won't get this, but go ahead and email me. My contact information is there. And I hope this presentation was exactly what you were looking for, because I know the University of Arkansas is a great program. And for the dollar amount, yeah, you can't beat it. You really cannot beat it. So if you have additional questions, please go ahead and email me or Jane if you're interested in the MSEM program. But other than that, that is the end of our session. I want to thank Dr. Stanley Woodson. Yay, very good. Always like meeting up with you. Dr. Rich Ham, who talked about our project management programs, or project management grad cert, and our Homeland Security. And to Carol Altum, our Assistant Director of the program. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to hear from you guys soon.